Nelson Mandela's name endorses numerous places. Many have a direct link to the great man, others less so. Such variability raises interesting questions regarding the authenticity of naming acts, also known as toponymy. In this paper, we explore how places reflect their designation by focusing on a scoping case study, Nelson Mandela Park in Mamelodi, a township in Pretoria, South Africa. We share a classifying hypothesis that seeks to frame an extended study into the increasing use of Mandela's name in public places within and beyond South Africa. We outline the notion of toponymy, introduce the township of Mamelodi to situate the park, and define a methodological approach. Early findings explain how the park connects to Mandela and the extent to which he is represented in the park through photodocumentation of the site. Finally, we propose opportunities for future design interventions that acknowledge both the verbal and visual potential to extend Mandela's graphic heritage in the park. In this short paper, we present early findings from research into the use of Nelson Mandela's name to endorse a public park in the township of Mamelodi in Pretoria, South Africa. Several hundred places across the world are named after Mandela. The Nelson Mandela Foundation provides an indicative number of 163 streets, 50 buildings, 24 gardens, 7 neighbourhoods, 9 bridges, 17 squares, 64 schools, 56 universities or educational institutions, and 1 hospital, to which can be added the naming of highways, sports stadiums, plazas, parks, and statues. Nelson Mandela Park in Mamelodi is one of them. Another is discussed at this conference in the paper entitled Making Praça Nelson Mandela, Morphological Change and Graphic Interventions to Define a New Square in the Botafogo district of Rio de Janeiro. This exploratory research was inspired by empirical observations of Nelson Mandela Park in Leicester, in the United Kingdom. The park is flanked by a prison, a famous rugby stadium, and a residential area, and has provided a weekly thoroughfare for one of the research team who recently migrated from South Africa. This led to preliminary discussions about the park's name and stimulated further investigations into 2 other locations named after Mandela in South Africa and Brazil, drawing from local knowledge about all 3 locations held within the research team. Nelson Mandela, or Madiba, as he became affectionately known in South Africa, was a much admired symbol of the black political movement. He was an anti-apartheid activist and black nationalist who led the African National Congress political party to fight racial segregation and discrimination in South Africa in the late 20th century. In 1994, he became the first president of the country post-apartheid. As an admired political symbol, many streets, buildings, community facilities, and parks are dedicated in his memory, both locally and internationally, as documented in the database of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. This process of naming is commonplace, and the study of this is called toponymy, the study of place names including their etymology, meaning, origin, and patterns. Such place names can reveal much about a location, often connecting us to historical figures, industrial heritage, geographical features, or political struggles, for example. Naming can be described as a heritage act. The practice may contribute to the intangible heritage of a community in the way it might articulate rights to land or recall events, activities, ideals, people, and knowledge. Place names, therefore, contribute to the social production of a place, and the practice of place naming is less a straightforward locative act, but can also be socially and politically contested. Interrogating place naming critically brings issues of power and visibility to the fore. Whose heritage is recognized and whose history is commemorated? Who has the power to name and who does not? South Africa has a wealth of urban places dedicated to Madiba's legacy and anti-apartheid struggle. Some of these urban places have National Heritage Site status, such as Robben Island. However, only a few are named in his memory, as recorded in the database of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. For example, 3 contrasting locations listed in the Foundation database in the Gauteng province in South Africa are Nelson Mandela Square in Sandton, Nelson Mandela Amphitheatre in Pretoria, and Nelson Mandela Park in Mamelodi. The square is distinct as a desirable and luxurious location to shop and socialize. The amphitheatre has a strong symbolic meaning as part of the South African Union buildings, the site of the official office of the government, as well as the place where Mandela was inaugurated as the first president of South Africa post-apartheid in 1994. Both sites in Sandton and Pretoria memorialize Mandela through statues, inscriptions, and images, whereas Mamelodi is more modest with only an inscription on a signboard carrying the park name. The township of Mamelodi was originally established on the Vlakfontein farm to the north of the city of Pretoria in 1945 to provide temporary labourers with a place to live. The place was separated with industrial buffer zones from the white residential areas as per the apartheid city design model, which most South African cities follow. The name of the farm was formally changed to Mamelodi in 1950, which means father or mother of melodies, and became the permanent home for many of the temporary workers after World War II. The township mostly consists of lower quality housing with a range of permanent and temporary structures, with the latter often having limited access to basic services. Like most townships in South Africa, sidewalks are often crowded by informal vendors selling products, e.g. food and tyres, and services such as car repairs. Mamelodi is the only urban park in South Africa listed in the Nelson Mandela Foundation database. The park was established in 1996 to provide recreational facilities to the community in East Mamelodi as the first project of the Greening of Mamelodi initiative. The second and third projects of the initiative were the Nelson Mandela Peace Garden and the Walter Sisulu Environmental Centre, which flank the park to the east. Geographically, the park is situated between key places in the community: the Mamelodi Public Hospital, which is the only hospital for the community of North East Pretoria, the Community Connect Nursery, which is part of the Walter Sisulu Environmental Centre, the Maveledzwe Primary School, and a few essential shops, food and vehicle service. We've not been able to establish whether Mandela had previously visited the Mamelodi district, and a formal heritage connection is not evident from our research so far. However, he did visit the park as a guest of honour to lead the opening ceremony on the 6th of September in 1996. This is what he then had to say. Soon this park will be filled with the sound of children laughing, playing, and learning. There could be no greater honor for me than the idea that one day my name will be associated with people's fond memory of childhood. The building of this park has captured the spirit of the new patriotism in our land. We wanted to find out if Nelson Mandela was represented in the park. To achieve this, we commissioned local photographer Fidel Masupiyi of Supreme Images in Pretoria with the intention to undertake an indicative photographic survey of the park. The purpose of the exercise was to identify if Nelson Mandela Park in Mamelodi revealed any connections to Mandela apart from the use of his name. We were curious to know what else might be learned about Mandela, and whether his wish for his so-called new patriotism could be traced at all. As part of the commissioning process, we shared examples of graphic intervention in the well-established Birkenhead Park in the United Kingdom, the first public park of its kind. This provided useful reference for the way graphic variables may be deployed in urban parks. Being as the research was being conducted from afar and during the pandemic, the visual research was intended to document the graphic interventions of Nelson Mandela Park. The photographic research revealed Mandela's presence in name only, prominently positioned on signboards on the periphery of the park. The sign identifies this as an official sign and the property of the Parks and Horticultural Services section of the Environmental Management Division based at Silverton. The sign further displays a series of symbols indicating the prohibition of, for example, loud music, firearms, and vehicles. It does, however, encourage soccer, picnicking, and waste disposal. The sign is also bordered with what appears to be the local government colour scheme. Beyond the personal interpretations one might have of Nelson Mandela's name, noting that for many in the township English is not their first language, there is no visual reference to Mandela in the design of the sign. This is also the case in relation to the design of the park in general, both in its interior and at its boundary. Play equipment, bollards, bins, benches, street signs, and floor surfaces, paved and painted, make no reference to Mandela at all. Close scrutiny of the park photo documentation displays several notable interventions in the form of unofficial notices such as fly posters, erosions in the form of broken and missing swings, disconnected stormwater pipes, footpaths around and between play equipment, and leftover litter. And there are missing elements such as safety signs at the play equipment. There are no sports markings for soccer pitches, and the open park has no boundary. There's no attempt to inform the park's users of anything that Mandela stood for. In this paper, we have introduced a hypothesis that attempts to draw together the verbal and visual representations of Nelson Mandela's name and places named after him. Through a short scoping study on Nelson Mandela Park in Mamelodi in Pretoria, we've highlighted the relationship between toponymy and design, and the missed opportunity to enhance this public space with graphic heritage associated with Mandela. We show how, at Nelson Mandela Park, toponymy defines the topography through typography, but this has been shown to lack the values associated with the Mandela brand in the context of the park in Mamelodi. There are also no identifiable symbols of Nelson Mandela in the park, and there is no opportunity to learn about Mandela or understand how the naming of the park was a symbol of the spirit of the new patriotism in the post-apartheid South Africa. Furthermore, although there are clearly opportunities in the park to engage with what Mandela's name means through graphic intervention and the values associated with his life and work, these have not been taken. The absence of such representations suggests opportunity for future graphic intervention to convey the values associated with Mandela's graphic heritage, not least his face as arguably the most recognizable image, but also other familiar artifacts associated with him. Images on social media show families having picnics in the park, people of all ages getting together to socialize and have fun, and children playing on the playground equipment. Therefore, there is an opportunity for the graphic interventions to ensure Mandela's message continues to resonate and to reach those from younger generations. Furthermore, the Mamelodi Heritage Tour welcomes members of all communities to experience a visit to the park as part of their tour, which further contributes to Madiba's fight for equality and diversity in South Africa. This provides opportunity for graphic interventions that inform the public about the reasons Mandela is honourably associated with the park. Finally, now the park is firmly established as a community resource, this paper documents the graphic objects that act as a focal point in the park. These do not currently commemorate Nelson Mandela, but this may change through future design intervention. Such intervention would also ensure that the toponymy in this instance would maintain its original social and political intent, rather than becoming reduced to a purely locative function. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the presentation. Please contact us for further information on the email address shown on screen.